Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Rockman Power Hour, a show where we talk to the most interesting people in the world of pop culture. And this week on the show, we have got a gentleman who literally is in one of the coolest bands in the world. I have been a fan of Troy Van Leeuwen ever since his Perfect Circle days. I happen to actually have some personal experiences with him, and I was there when he was asked to join the band. So this is a very unique interview. This is going to be a very unique conversation. I'm so glad we're finally able to have Troy in the studio, the virtual studio, and have him be able to tell us all about this new record, In Times New Roman, that just dropped last Friday from Queens of the Stone Age. It's their first album ever. It's their first album in forever. And we have got copies of this record to give away on vinyl. So make sure you tune in till the end of the episode to find out how you can win one of 4 copies of In Times New Roman on vinyl, thanks to our friends at Beggars Group Canada and Matador Records. But before we go any further, let's bring in our co-host, the Ryan Stick himself. What's going on, Ryan?
I almost got hacked out of my Instagram last night, and I am willing at the end of the episode to tell people how to not for it to happen. So that was up. But you know what would have solved that situation even faster? If Heartbeat Hot Sauce manifested itself in the digital form and came to save me as it always does when I'm eating something very, very tasteless. Like this segue.
What a beautiful segue to, yes, Heartbeat Hot Sauce. They are the title sponsors of our podcast, and we appreciate them so much. I decided to go as real as I could today. I've got the pineapple habanero. As you can see, this is straight from the fridge.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Like I love this one. This has been a go-to for me when I have my breakfast, and definitely check them out at heartbeathotsauce.com. You get 20% off your entire order when you use our promo code, and it never expires. So please use it and enjoy Heartbeat Hot Sauce. They are wonderful. We appreciate them being involved with our podcast and being our title sponsor. Great company that we absolutely love working with. And also a big thanks to Studio House Designs. I see you are rocking the Buffy the Vampire Slayer long sleeve.
Yeah, and Spike. I used to, every time I bleached my hair, I was always trying to impress older ladies by looking like Billy Idol, and ladies my age by looking like Spike. I didn't really look like either of them, but in a dark room,
you could kind of look like Spike.
People see what they want to see. It's like a mirage in the desert. You're like, I'm thirsty. You look like water.
That looks great. I am wearing a Half Moon Run shirt right now because the guys in Half Moon Run sent me over a couple of shirts this week. So so I was really grateful for that. So thank you to them. But of course, as you know, more than half the time of my life, I'm wearing a Studio House Design shirt, and I always get stopped, and people are always like, "That is the coolest shirt ever." So thanks to them for supporting us. We really appreciate them.
I was rocking Beetlejuice when we were at an event in Niagara last weekend, and I was being stopped left and right. I thought I was one of the celebrities. Right. I did.
Nice. Yeah, that's the power that Studio House Designs has, and we're going to talk about that trip to Niagara Falls definitely after we jump in with Troy. We're also going to talk
current events,
some current events that are going to only be beneficial for the Rockman Power Hour, but. Let's not go too far because there's a lot in this interview, Ryan. There's a lot in this interview that's very personal, that's super cool, that I'm kind of glad I get to share with the rest of the world because this is, there's some stories around Troy that I've had in my old noggin for years that I'm able to finally share with the audience. And this is really, really fun for me. And it's also fun because Troy's in one of my favorite bands in the world. As you know, I love Queens of the Stone Age. Absolutely love them. They can do no wrong in my eyes. And I think Josh is one of the greatest songwriters of our generation. I think his band is cool. Like when you think of cool, they're that band. There's nothing cooler than Queens of the Stone Age in my eyes. And I'm so excited for the world to hear this new record. Like I mentioned, came out last Friday. It's super solid. And we've got copies of the record on vinyl that we're lucky enough to be able to give away to you, and find out how you can do that at the end of the episode, because it's really, really cool for us to be able to do giveaways on the show. And we're going to be doing more and more of that in the episode. So make sure you always have it locked, and subscribe, like, share with your friends. And this week we have got these, which are going to be a hot commodity. I have so many of my friends that have already bought this record, and we've got all these different colorways as well. So thank you to Beggars Group, and thank you to Matador Records for providing us these, which we will tell you how you can win at the end of the episode. But Ryan, let's dive into this, because this is a fun conversation. Troy's great. Not a lot of people have been talking to the guys from Queens yet, so we're really, really lucky to get him. And without any further ado, check it out. Our interview with Troy Van Leeuwen from Queens of the Stone Age. All right. Really, really happy to have on the podcast this week with us Troy Van Leeuwen from the band Queens of the Stone Age, from the band Enemy, from the band, and it just goes on and on and on. But obviously your main gig has been Queens of the Stone Age for the better part of, well, over 2 decades now.
Yeah, that's right. 2002 was April 1st. I got a phone call from Joshua Homme.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, right, this is going to happen. But yeah, 2002.
And the crazy thing is, I was with you when you got that phone call.
I do remember, and we were talking about, because you did like Ozfest or something.
I know exactly where we were, and I can tell you everything because I remember it, because it's one of these things that I'll never forget.
Okay, I want you to tell the story, because I do remember some of it, but you might remember more, because time isn't always my friend.
So we were at Mel's Diner in Hollywood. We had just wrapped up vocals that you had helped my band out with for a record we put out in 2003. And we were chatting, and it was late at night. It was I think it was probably 2 a.m. We'd done a late night session, I guess, in a studio you worked at, a small little rehearsal space. And we'd done it on a portable recorder. I think it was like at 1880 or one of those things. And you're like, I got to take this call. And then you came back and you're like, I just got asked to join Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah. Mel's Diner. That's right.
Yeah.
And I remember you were saying, oh, I love those guys. I did Ozfest with them, and it was probably on the same stage, right? Or maybe like the second stage. Or
they were actually on the main stage opening up.
Oh, they were
at 1 o'clock every day,
early,
and
early
not happy about it.
Yeah, they weren't happy about it, because that was like prime sleep time for them at that point.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was. I remember. You're making me remember Mel's Diner. That's right. Yeah, and yeah, we were just finishing up. I think, what was the last song that we did? We did the cover of course, of Crazy.
Yeah,
which I thought was really, really fun and interesting. And yeah, we were working out of a rehearsal space that I was just renting, to do a bunch of recording for different projects, So, and then we were working on this thing called Revenge of the Triad with Jason Slater and Charlie Clouser, and you sang on a track of that, I remember as well. So
yeah, and I remember the guys were a little jealous. Where are you going off to? What are you doing here? They didn't like that. And then, I mean, shortly after we put out Metaphor, I went off and I became a dad, and I left music, which was fine. But I think the best thing about this whole story is that you ended up joining one of my favorite bands, because, so
did I.
Yeah. And I remember seeing them at Fofone Electric in Montreal. I believe it was 97 or 98. At that time, the first album had just gotten distribution through Loose Groove. And it was just like seeing Queens of the Stone Age in a place that holds 500-600 people back then. It just marked me. And I had followed the band, ever since. And then you hop in, and you ended up joining the band. And the first tour I got to see you on was the one where Dave came out and Lanigan was singing
drums.
And it was just bananas. And I remember looking at you going, are you having a good time? And you're like, you don't even know, man.
Yeah. That was the beginning of this giant sort of wave of crazy, like #1 singles and like tons of like touring and playing with Dave was a lot of fun, and getting to, know Lanigan and end up working with him. I mean, it was this whole like explosion of creativity that was the beginning of.
And now you're about to release a new record. The world has really much, it has completely changed. The world kind of went to shit over the last few years, has come back. We're all expected to just like dive right back in like nothing's happened. But the reality is that everybody changes, things happen to people, but you're right back into this cycle again after having, I guess, some time to reflect, some time away. How does it feel knowing that in a couple of weeks you guys are putting out another Queens record?
I mean, it's like you said, there was definitely, everyone's gone through this period of a crazy sort of lockdown and isolation, the world is definitely, especially the world of music, it's a different place for sure. So it's partly exciting and partly sort of like nerve-wracking because we did our first 2 shows last weekend in 5 years, and
right.
There's a lot of build-up there, and there's a lot of expectations that we have on ourselves, and I'm sure our fans have on us as well. So to kind of like get that part of what we do in sync and make it happen was a big deal. So I feel better about it now.
Yeah.
And so now I feel like with the swell of the wave is starting to pick things up. And then by the time the record's out, we'll be riding that wave. And that's kind of my favorite part of the situation right now because of the way things have been in the past couple of years. So yeah, I think it's a good time right now for us anyways.
And being able to jump on stage, obviously I was paying close attention to I have been paying close attention to everything that's going on with the band. Again, mentioning, you guys are one of my favorite bands, and the anticipation for those live shows were very, very high. And seeing the clips that I saw, it seems like you guys had never even stopped running. I mean, it's, and I'm sure you're going to say, well, because you're probably hard on yourself, but you guys sounded phenomenal. And what was great about it is that I've got to sit with the record for a bit. I've gotten to
excellent.
Yeah. No, I've gotten to really sit with the record. I've gotten to give it quite a few listens, and it was fun to hear some of those songs being played. And I can imagine being in the audience for the first time, hearing those songs. It's got to be a trip. So what was it like when you play stuff that people know and then you play new stuff? Is there this anticipation, like you can tell people are just excited they're hearing a new one?
I think for us, it's just sort of like a nice, it's a nice kind of payoff because we've been living with the record for, since November. I think we handed it in. And you never know what people are going to think, so it's nice to hear that, and especially with a song like, Emotion Sickness, where there's this really wonderful, catchy chorus that people can actually sing, it's nice to hear them singing it. Yeah. But then again, we played another song that no one's heard yet called Negative Space.
Yep.
And it seemed like it was a no-brainer, like a no-brainer Queens guitar rock groove song, that people were just like, yeah, that's the Queens. And so our new record is kind of like, for all of our fans, for newer fans, we're trying something new. I think, Carnivore Air is a good expression of that. And then we've got stuff like Negative Space that's just, guitar driven, stoner rock kind of vibe. So it was nice to have the audience react the way they did.
I think what's interesting about this record, and I'm curious to see how people react when they finally can sink their teeth into it, but I found the track listing of this record very interesting. And I don't know if this is the final one, but Emotion Sickness being third to last, being one of the easiest songs to catch. So it's almost like you're giving this record to fans and going, okay, if you are willing to take this journey with us and hear this whole record, there's a payoff at the end of this record, because it is very, it's not so much top heavy as it's bottom heavy. Like it's a very bottom heavy record in the sense that the track listing, the last 4 or 5 songs are really, really bangers. But there's also this stuff that's going on at the beginning that is very challenging for a listener. And what I loved about it was that it took me probably 3 listens to finally get it. And then when you get it, it's like, and it brought back my memory of hearing Faith No More's Angel Dust for the first time.
Yeah. Sure.
Now, that's
great. Yeah.
You go from the real thing, which was just so easy, so, digestible and almost like fast food. And then you get Angel Dust, where I fucking hated it when I first heard it. And now it's a Desert Island Disc for me. So having a bit of wisdom now, as you get older and you realize that means you're getting challenged more, there is a payoff at the beginning of the record when you start to really listen to some of the tracks, because there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. I mean, that's important for us, because not only are we trying to make our favorite music, we want to not repeat ourselves as well. So that's why it's, the record is peppered with like new stuff that people wouldn't expect, that might be challenging to their ears. But there is, I agree with you. There are back to basics sort of tracks that are just like, well, that's what the Queens are. It's like, we take a note from AC/DC, not all the way, they have a sound. They've never changed.
Yeah.
And you can depend on what they do. And it's always great when you watch them, but we're trying to, keep things interesting for us as well as our audience.
And I think that's what's, the way AC/DC has that sound, you guys have that sound, but what signature of that sound is that you do take people on journeys. And that's like, get ready for different time signatures, get ready for some challenging things, for your ears, but it's all, there's always a payoff there. And I think fans at this point know that. One of the things I really that got me was time and place.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. The opening of that was just, I don't play anything. I just sing. Right. And I don't even do that much anymore, but I'm listening to that. I'm like, when you're going to have to learn that to play live, are you kicking yourself that you wrote it?
No, it's funny because I love starting songs like that where you're like, I don't know how this comes in. And then by the time it comes in, you're like, I'm off.
Yeah.
I think I've always liked songs like that too. But for me, it's a very easy sort of triplet groove over a 4 beat.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And it's interesting that song has been around for a while, and it just never got finished until now. And so it's funny to think, something that different was started, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that, and just never found its way to be finished. And sometimes songs finish themselves, like that one, and like another one, Straight Jacket Fitting. There's another one that's been kind of kicked around for a while. And finally it showed up, and it's like this giant sort of trip, it's a journey for sure.
Yeah.
At the end of the record.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's nice when you, this is another thing I've been, I've talked to a lot of bands over the last few years. They all have a common thing that they've been saying. Besides having, time to reflect and time to do other things, they've had time to finish stuff they've had sitting around.
Same here. Yeah. That's really what I think that was one of the good things about being locked down and getting tighter with each other, because we were like everyone else here in California. You had to have certain protocols to even work.
Yeah.
And so we had to get everybody's families together and be in a bubble and test and all that kind of jazz just to get into a room and work. So it tightened up our unit for sure. And yeah, we were able to, take some time with this record and kind of sift through everything that, would fit.
Right.
So, but we're always making music, and that's the good part. There's always going to be more.
Carnivore, there's a line where Josh just says, I just smile. And it's just so, I think you get to a certain point in your life where you get a little older and you're just like, I love it. I mean, I'll just smile. I'm not going to argue with you. I'll just smile. And I don't know if that was the lyrical intention, if that was what it was, but that's what it just sounds so like freeing. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to let that one go.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important for, like you're saying, this is the way I interpreted it. And I think that's more important than what the intention might have been, because that's what most of our lyrics are for. It's not really spelled out, and there's a lot of play on words, and it's fun for us to kind of, use stuff like that. Even the title is a play on words that we thought was funny.
Well, if anybody knows anything about graphics, it's a font.
Yeah, it's probably the most popular font on anyone's computer.
Right.
You know, for since personal computers were a thing. Um, but yeah, it just seemed to fit, and it just came out of kind of almost out of nowhere. So lyrically and song titles like Carnivore Air, it's like smashed together, and making up new words and just creating imagery is part of the fun. Yeah.
Made to Parade's got this fade out. A big fan of fade outs.
Nice. Yeah.
When I remember being, when I was younger, I used to love the idea of a fade out. Maybe you're not a fan, but Steely Dan always had some of the best fade outs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. It's when it's somebody, I forget who it was. I don't know. Someone was talking about pop, writing pop songs, and I think it's always a challenge for us to write a pop song, even though I think we've made some attempts on this record and the last one. But I remember this person saying, well, repetition ensures closure. And I was like, that's why there's a fade out, because you're repeating this thing.
Yeah.
And you're going, now you get to just sing it while the music's over. So it just kind of goes in the ear and it stays there.
Yeah, a lot of songs that fade out have that. Exactly. It makes you want more. It makes you continue it. And I don't know if it's a precursor to an earworm or what, but it has a great fade out.
Yeah, we always have this saying like that there's a reason there's a rewind button, and maybe that's dated, but
but no, but I know
if you want, it makes you want to, like, if you don't want to drive something, into somebody's ear. You want to give it to them and let them have it for enough time to where they're like, I got to hear that again.
Yeah.
So,
at this point, having a pretty deep catalog, is it challenging for you guys when you have to put a set together?
It's challenging in the way that we want to play everything.
Yeah.
So, it's a good problem to have. And, we're coming off of, a pretty long break. And I think we're going to start by just reintroducing ourselves like we did the last few shows. But we're going to be changing the set every night. And that's the cool thing about our band. We can't just do one set and then just have it be done. We're a live band, and even on stage, there's audibles. So we'll be sneaking in more of the new record. By the time the record comes out, we're going to be playing a lot of it. And yeah, it's a good problem to have. But yeah, deciding is the challenge.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's is there ever a time where you're like, I really want to play this, and it's just like not going to happen tonight, and you ever get pissed off about it, or no?
I never get pissed off about it, but there's stuff that's we want to play deep cuts, and things that things for the fans. But luckily for us, there's a lot of songs that did well at radio back in the day, and
sure,
we came out. The first song we played back out was No One Knows, and we play that every night. We played Go With the Flow every night. We play Little Sister every night. So there's things that are just gonna always be there, and we still love playing those songs. So nothing ever gets old for us, and we So for a set list, every night's going to be different. We're going to be adding some cool old stuff, and then some deep cuts, and it's going to be interesting because people come to see multiple shows.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than seeing the same set list,
and especially now in today's world where everyone's filming everything, where there's setlist.ca or .com, where you can literally know the pacing. You can see someone's little banter that they practice that they do in every city the same. It's just so, I know. And I know that this isn't that band. That I know for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
With anniversaries coming up, of course, when you put out records over a span of years, there's anniversaries that crop up every year. And is there ever thought of going out and playing a record from front to back, or is that not something you guys would do?
I mean, we did that for the first record.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
We did that before. It's like, I know that the Songs for Deaf was 20 years old, like last year.
Yeah.
There's always talk of stuff like that, but I think after, there's something about the first record that where you listen to it top to bottom, and it's like the way we did it very, very true to the recording. Where, I mean, we have 3 guitar players now, and there's some times where there's only 1 guitar playing on that record. So, Dean and I would pick up maracas and sing backups, and so that was fun to do that, just like kind of note for note. But yeah, I don't know. We have so much new music, and I think that going backwards isn't in the cards right now.
Right.
We're looking forward to what's going to happen, this next time around.
I know that you, like I mentioned at the beginning, you're involved with a lot of projects. Over the 5-year break, did you get to dive in on some of the other stuff? Were you able to do stuff that you might have coming? I know you did do a little bit of stuff, but were you able to really dig in and maybe prepare some stuff that might be able to come out when this cycle kind of slows down?
Well, as far as like with Queens, like I said, we have like a backup of music that we've been kicking around.
Yeah.
So that's always happening. I got to work on a couple of different projects over the pandemic. I did what I would consider a really pandemic, like a real pandemic record, which was the Gone Is Gone record, the last one that we did.
Right.
I mean, we finished it remotely, everybody's own studios, and even mixed it, with my friend Norm Block, who just did it in his house. And through technology, you're able to listen as it's being mixed,
sure,
make notes, be on the phone and say, hey, turn up the guitars. But that was an experiment in right when the isolation was really kicking in. So we were kind of dying to get together, and we just couldn't. And another project that I worked on that I'm really happy with is this band called The Armed.
Okay.
I played on their last record, Ultra Pop, during the pandemic, and throughout the pandemic have been working with them on some new stuff too. So I got to, work with them, and because I really love their band, and it's more of an art collective. They make their own videos. They do all kinds of art forward, graphic design and stuff like that. So actually, some of the teasers that we put out, I've worked with kind of the main character, Tony Wolski. He directed all these little.
Oh yeah, and they're powerful.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we had these ideas, and we took some elements of the songs and just stripped away most of it. And we were like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" He's like, "Oh, I'll do something with that." And then he came back with this really beautifully shot, incredibly twisted and kind of sick imagery that we were all just like, yeah, keep doing that.
Yeah, just keep being you.
You keep being you, and we'll keep being us, and we'll do stuff together. So that was fun too. I think we'll do some more stuff with them. But anyways, there's a new record that we just finished of theirs too, which I think is going to be really cool.
Nice. And I saw that you worked with Robbie Williams. That's bananas.
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
So the guy who was producing his record, also he worked with the band Snow Patrol that I worked with before too. His name is Jackknife Lee.
Hey, wait, back up. You what Snow Patrol record did you work on?
I think it's called Falling Empires.
You worked on a Snow Patrol record? Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, those guys are pals.
Fucking great band.
Yeah, they're great. They're really. I mean, another band that you would never guess that would be hanging out with, with Queens of the Stone Age, but they're mates. They're really fucking cool.
And good fucking songwriters too.
Yeah, great songwriting, and I mean, I love pop music, and they're really good at it. And so, basically, Jackknife Lee was like, "Hey, I'm working on this Robbie Williams record, and I need some guitar." And so I just played some guitar on a Robbie Williams song, and I mean, he wasn't there.
Okay, so you didn't get to actually connect with him.
I didn't get to hang with him, or anything like that. But it was, I moonlight as a session player sometimes, so that's one of those things that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. And listen, Snow Patrol, I saw them early on when, before the big, whatever, the Grey's Anatomy song or whatever. I saw them,
Yep.
that album where the two of them were in the snowsuits. I forget the name of it.
Yes.
I saw them on Final Straw.
That's where I first met them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that record, very good record. And they were touring with this other band named Athlete. And I saw them in like a 300-seat club and they were just fucking phenomenal. So when they started blowing up, it didn't surprise me at all. But dude, sure. I just got to say, I'm so happy for you because you've always been a really, really good guy. You've always had a really, really open heart when it comes to music. You even worked with our shitty band, and it was it was just always really, really nice to just share space with you because you really do care about music, and you've got a great way of coming into a project and giving a good outside opinion. That's why whenever I hear you doing production, like you should really do more production because you do have a great way to pull things out of people.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I plan on doing more. Yeah, it's when you mentioned the pandemic, I opened up a lot of old drives and found a lot of old music that I wanted to kind of work out and see if it even stood the test of time. And so I plan on doing more of that kind of thing too, even with just songs of my own, songs with my wife Serena, who's got we made a couple records together for Sweethead and the working with the Armed is a production. I mean I play guitar in it too, but it was a co-producing situation that I really enjoyed. I co-produced it with this guy named Ben Chisholm, who, if you know Chelsea Wolfe, he's basically the musical director of her, and her band, and he produces a lot of cool stuff. And so we got the chance to work together, and it was wonderful. So yeah, I'll be doing more of that stuff for sure.
Thank you for taking the time.
You got it, man.
Continued success. Yeah. New record comes out June 16th, and we'll catch up with you on the road for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, it's great to see you again.
I've seen Troy live like 3 times, and I didn't even realize it.
Really?
Well, I realized it when I saw him in Queens. I saw Queens of the Stone Age play open up for 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
And then the opener was Death from Above.
That was a great
What a lineup.
What a lineup.
When you really think about that, that's like really Trent Reznor and 9 Inch Nails honing in on the fact that they're like, yeah, we established ourselves in the late 80s, but here we are in the early 2000s, and we could still be just
amazing,
as relevant. Yeah. And it worked so well because Queens of the Stone Age, 9 Inch Nails are like, we don't give a fuck. Queen of the Stone Age are, we don't give a fuck. Death from Above 1979, I'm like, I'm a drummer. I'm going to sing. We don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool time that represented the greatness of the music of the time.
Yeah.
So I saw him there, but also I saw him in the Perfect Circle. And also opening for 9 Inch Nails, man.
That's crazy.
He must have some Trent stories because I remember Perfect Circle being a great band, but also at the same time, I was like 15 years old and didn't understand that, like, the opening band's going to play no matter what, and your favorite band will go on at 9 o'clock regardless.
Yeah.
Of, your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So I was like, usually seeing opening bands when you want to see your favorite band is agonizing, but Perfect Circle is just great. And, I didn't know who Maynard was at the time. I was like 15 years old. I didn't recognize that Tool and Perfect Circle had some connections because I thought you were only allowed to be in one band when you were a kid.
Yeah.
You're in one band.
Yeah.
You start it. If it doesn't work, you jump in a volcano and you leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But
great guitar player.
Oh, great guitar player and great guy and great ear for music. I mean, when I found out, and we talk about it, like when I found out that he had worked with Robbie Williams, and I'm just curious to see what he will do in the future in production, because the amount that he helped me as a singer, just working with him on those songs for that Slaves on Dope record for Metaphor, really brought me to another level as a singer. I mean, personally, the experience I had working with him, working with lyrics, like it was just great. So yeah, man, I'm curious to see where his career is going to go. But the fact that Queens are back, the fact that they're touring, I'm so excited for people. And I want to let people know how you can win a copy of this record on vinyl, because we have got 4 copies. And here's full transparency. We have got 4 copies of this record on vinyl to give away. I am keeping one of these. So
I am not keeping one of these.
We have 3 copies.
Because it's the Rockman Power Hour.
We have 3 copies of this to give away on vinyl. Yeah. So there's 4 different colorways. You'll get one at random. And what you got to do is you got to like and you got to subscribe, which hopefully you already do. And you've got to leave a comment in the comment section on how you like the podcast. We will be choosing from people that leave in the comment section. And when we check the comment section, they have to have liked and subscribed. So if that's all going on, you got a chance to win one of 3.
Full background check.
And then we will send one of these to you. So thank you very much to Queens of the Stone Age, to Matador Records, and to Beggars Group Canada for providing with us with these 4 beautiful copies. Well, hang on. 3 beautiful copies of Queens of the Stone Age's new record, In Times New Roman. It's available everywhere you buy music. And, you know, locally, I love record stores. One of my favorite stores is Lanois. I love that place. There's so many great record stores in Montreal, like Au Comptoir, Sound Central, Beatnik. Like, there's nothing like the vibe of going into a record store, even if you go to your local Sunrise and they've got a vinyl section. Vinyl's where it's at. Support physical media and support vinyl, and win one of these by simply doing all those things we told you to do. So yeah, thanks. It's fun to have a giveaway on the show. We don't get to do that very much.
No, but it's the start of a beautiful friendship, because we're going to give away so much.
Yes, we are.
Including some tea right now. Because no, actually before that, we'll just, considering we're talking about vinyl, just segue into, we went to Niagara recently.
We did. And
when we were in Toronto, we expanded our trip. We're like, we're going to go to a convention. Let's do so much more. We managed to go to Toronto, see a concert, go to America for a few hours, visit a Taco Bell, like a lot of things.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the record stores, could you tell the folks in the Toronto record store that you brought me to, like that big crazy one with all this Czarface toys and everything? That was bonkers.
All right, so let me back up and let everybody know exactly what we did. So we got in a car. We decided to go to the Niagara Falls Comic Con, which we've never been to. And because we work with so many Comic Cons, it was nice to just go as a fan and have that experience and see what our fans and our customers at Montreal, Ottawa, Quebec, and Winnipeg get to experience, because we're always on the other side of it. So it was really nice to go and have that experience. So we went to Niagara Falls Comic Con, but on the way to Niagara Falls, we decided to stop off in Toronto and go see Sepultura. And it was nice because we're buddies with Derek Green, the singer of Sepultura, because he was part of the Kings of Quarantine project. So we got
you're buddies with Derek, but I was so elated of how friendly he was in person that I feel buddy by proximity.
Yeah.
And I'm down.
Yeah. He's very, very cool. So we got to see him. We got to meet Andreas and Paulo from Sepultura as well, which was really, really cool. I got to see the Death Angel guys again, and we're going to try to get them on the podcast because they're just amazing. And
oh my God, Death Angel! Can we just take a second? Like, I did not know Death Angel was going to be Death Angel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we go to watch them, and I'm just like, wait a second. Is this what thrash is supposed to be?
Yeah.
Because I guess every time I see a loud, fast band, it's always in a venue that's so big that you kind of like lose that bottom end intensity that is, not a small room, but pretty large to medium sized room with a crowd full of people encompassing the loud, thrashing like power of metal that makes you think, oh, this is what Metallica was like in the Master of Puppet days.
Exactly.
I get, oh shit, okay, fuck, I've been missing out. And the singer, oh my God, he's so great.
So good.
Like not a note missed, like the power and intensity of his voice after all these years. And no offense to anybody else, I'm kind of used to vocally people kind of taking a back seat and the nostalgia of the act you love holding your attention together. But this guy coming in cold, never really heard a song or two in my life by Death Angel. Just, oh my God, I was blown away, kids. If you can ever see Death Angel, 2023, do it.
Oh yeah, they're just they're great, and we got to I got to play with them years ago, and we'll talk about that. If we ever get them on the show, we're gonna talk about that, because I don't want to give any of that away. But I got to catch up with a couple of the members backstage, and I mentioned that show, and they remembered. So we saw Death Angel, but before that we went to Sonic Boom, which is a record store in Toronto, which is a record / novelty. They sell action figures, toys, and all that. So that was really, really fun. And then right near the venue, which was the Danforth Music Hall, we went to Cops Records. And right before the show, because Cops is right on the same street as the venue, we got to go there, and you found Eddie and the Cruisers 2 on vinyl. Was Eddie?
Oh, it was Eddie and the Cruisers 1,
okay.
Sir.
The vinyl, yes. So you found a record that you'd been looking for a long time. And I found Eagles of Death Metal record that I've been looking for a long time, which is crazy because Queens of the Stone Age is our subject and kind of our guest this week. And Josh's other band is Eagles of Death Metal with Jesse. So, but yeah, it was a great record store. They had dude, I could have spent so much money on records at that store. It was ridiculous. They had so much cool shit, and well run, and a nice guy. And you're forgetting, he gave you the record for free. It was $1.
No, it was okay. Listen, I gotta specify, kids. They say one man's junk is another man's treasure. I would have dropped a cool 20 on an Eddie and the Cruisers vinyl, and it was $1.
Yeah, it was in the dollar.
So to all of you out there who ever feel unwanted or just unappreciated, like you're some dollar vinyl left in a store, left to die, just remember, some guy or girl is going to come in that record store, the metaphorical record store, and see you and think you are worth 20 times as much as you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the guy saw your enthusiasm, and he was like,
yeah.
And I remember my record was half price. Instead of $26.99, it was like $13 with tax. It was like $16. And I gave him a 20. I said, keep the change. He was like, I go, buy yourself a coffee. I go, you're so nice, and your record store is amazing. So that was part one of our trip. And then we drove to Niagara Falls. I went to the Niagara Falls Comic-Con. We had a great time. We had some great conversations, which I want to share on another episode with Giancarlo. The whole conversation we had Giancarlo Esposito about. But that was a really, really fun trip. Came back to Montreal, and
shout out to the Black Fawn team.
Oh yeah, definitely to Benner and all the guys at Black Fawn Films. We'll have them on as well. So, which brings me to the next thing. I came back, and Wednesday I got let go from my job at Shome, which was a shock. And I was like, oh shit, I got let go. And it was really as simple as this. I do an evening show on Shome for 13 years. And that evening show, the decision was taken to automate that show. So to have no host, just music, shuffle. They call it Shome on Shuffle. At least in the background, we call it Shome on Shuffle. Other people call it, hey, is anybody on air? There's no host. But that's the decision that was taken. The landscape of radio is changing. Margins are smaller and smaller. And it was my time to get cut. And it was a shock, but I'm really, really happy about the opportunity to work there. Because to work at the station you grew up listening to and to be part of that history, like I remember back in the day talking about all the people that passed through there, like Tutal, like Terry, like Paul Beauregard, like Benoit Dufresne, Rob Camp, all these names, that you associate with the radio. So the fact that I was in that and people will remember me as that, it's kind of cool. You know what I mean? So I'm not sad about it. What I'm really excited about is the fact that we can put more effort into podcasting and we can bring more content, and which we're going to do. So all in all, it was a really positive week. Oh, yeah. June's what's up, June?
Well, June's saying she agrees.
June, do you agree?
Yeah.
So it was a bit of like, it's funny because I saw somebody in the.
Well, you're human. Come on, you're human.
Yeah, I'm not sad. Like I went to a couple of events over the last couple of days where I saw a lot of people I knew, and it's kind of like I remember when my dad passed away, and people were coming to the celebration of life, which about. You and Melissa were there filming people's testimonials about my dad. it was the same thing. Like I had the same feeling. Like I had people coming with these long faces, figuring, "Oh man," and I was just like, "I'm okay." Like it's okay. It's just part of life. And of course, it's a blow to the ego. But if your ego's already in check, then it's not that big of a blow. So I'm okay, man. I'm really okay. And it's sad because the listeners that have reached out to me and people that reached out to me have told me, like, this is a big part of my night. Like I worked shift work and I did nights and I listened to you and I'm going to miss it. But I just tell them, this is where we're going to be. Like, you miss me, then
in small segments between lots of music, and now people can enjoy you.
It's just
and your annoying partner rattling on about what dollar vinyls and trips to Niagara. It's actually awesome, man. If I were the listeners, I'd be very happy.
Well, I think it's nice because maybe some people will be able to come over here, and a lot of people didn't even know about the podcast, because I always kept them very separate with what I did on Shum. So, but yeah, so it's obviously news that I wanted to talk about and wanted to address because we've been talking about it a lot, and but it's a good thing. It's a really good thing. Change is good, getting complacent in life and sometimes having, being at one place and being like, oh man, like it's just, I'm all about the ebb and flow. So it's good. So yeah, there's the news. Now, what we need to remind people about is that you need to like and subscribe this podcast because we rely on you to watch. And we really appreciate it if you subscribe and you like and tell your friends about it. And please let us know who you want us to talk to. Get involved in those comments. And especially this week, because we got 3 copies of this record to give away from Queens of the Stone Age, the new album, In Times New Roman. We've got all these different colorways. And if you want to win one of these, like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Leave a comment. And we're going to go through all of them. We're going to give these away randomly.
And also, I'm just going to say, as an avid listener of many great podcasts, including Krista Makes a Podcast, One at Thunder, Horror Movie Nights, A Weird Algorithm, just Talk is Jericho, shows I listen to on a daily basis, Podme's World. It's just part of my week. And what we want to do is be part of your week as well. So hit that notification bell because it's a wide world. There's many hours in the day full of dog walking, dishes, and a bunch of other things. As much as we appreciate, everybody subscribing on YouTube, which really helps us, by the way. If you want to watch the videos and see Jason's handsome face, that's a good thing. But also do not forget, you don't have to be intimidated by the idea that we have like almost 70 episodes, or we do have 70 right now.
This is number 70, yeah.
This is 70 episodes on YouTube. You're like, how will I ever catch this up? Show some love to that audio portion too. Yeah. That's what we wanted to do. We're not here to demand your attention. We're here to entertain you.
Yeah, very well put.
Whatever medium you want to listen to or watch us on, we appreciate it. And shout out to my high school friend, Patricia Hemming, who is one of our biggest listeners and a dear friend. And really keeps my fire going every week because she always comments, always messages me, has a big crush on the Dirty Nil guy. It's who doesn't?
Yeah.
And just little things like that keep me not only inspired, but excited to continue this journey. So
100%. So make sure you do all of that. And we appreciate all of your support. My thanks to my co-host, Ryan Stick. My thanks to our guest, Troy Van Leeuwen. Thanks to our producer, Julia Kajerski. Thank you to Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. Make sure you like them, all their socials as well, and use our promo code Rockman20 right below to get 20% off your entire order, and that code never expires. Thank you to Studio House Designs as well. Thank you to AKG for providing us with these incredible microphones and these headphones. And thanks to all of you for being a part of this journey. And don't forget, if you want to win a copy of Queens of the Stone Age in Times New Roman, like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And we're going to pick winners this week. We will see you next week on the Rockman Power Hour. Our guest will be Devin Townsend. Yeah.
I cannot tell you how excited I was that you let me know we were interviewing him 3 hours before we did.
I know.
It was such a weird day.
So
we had the reaction. We had the authentic reaction of when you told me and the jaw-dropping moment. So look forward to that, kids. I am so excited.
So thank you very much, all of you. And yes, you will see the jaw-dropping reaction that Ryan has to Devin Townsend. And there's a lot more coming. So really Keep it locked on the Rockman Power Hour. We're excited. We're fueled up. And we cannot wait to see you the next time that we pop up in your notifications because you subscribed and done all that fun stuff. But we really, really appreciate you. Thank you. We know you have a lot of other options. And the fact that you're spending this time with us means the absolute world. And we'll see you next time on the Rockman Power Hour.